Let's do it. Hey, what's up? I'm Cynthia, and the creator of Embodied Ritual. And I am super jazzed today because not only is it my birthday month, but also it is the first video of the Embodied Ritual channel. And I'm super stoked because I've been dreaming of this for a while now. And it's such a pleasure to be here with you. And so this video I'm dedicating to a practice that I recently got into, I believe at the beginning of the fall of 2020 when I'm recording this. And it really made a big impact and made the biggest difference. And it's really helping me in all areas of my life. And it's so simple, but so profound. And so I just really wanted to kick this video channel off to help you learn about a practice that's going to help you work with your whole self and not against it. And when I use the word whole self, I am talking about the three components that make up your being here on this earth, which to me is body, mind, and spirit. And so when I work with the whole self, and I'm utilizing practices that really tend to the whole self, it's just amazing. Like it's jaw dropping sometimes to see how everything gets affected, how everything's interconnected. And so I really want to share this practice because it still just keeps leveling up my experience. And I bet it would do the same for you. So, yeah. Now, this practice, it may seem simple, and sometimes simplicity gets underrated, and because our lives and the modern lifestyle tends to be really complex, right? But and if you've heard this before, right, this is like a moment to be like, okay, even though this is coming up again for me, what is it here to show me now? Right. And this is kind of the beginner mindset that I have when I'm like working with a new teacher or going into like a new space. And even though they're all maybe teaching the same things in various ways, I still hold that perspective of like, okay, what can I learn from this now? How can this apply to me in my life and where I am in my journey? So yeah, this practice revolves around self-love. And even though I have made a heck of a lot of improvements in my life, and I am just like flabbergasted sometimes with everything that is in my life right now and how far I've come, I was realizing earlier this year that I had so many big dreams on my heart, so many things that were calling to me. And actually, it wasn't a lot of things, but it was a few things that were kind of a big deal. And so I realized like, okay, I want this, right? I'm like, dude, like I can tell this is part of my calling. Like this is coming up over and over again. And there's all these opportunities. Yet when I was trying to really step up and show up and take a hold of these visions, I kept noticing myself either finding obstacles or challenges getting in the way, or me having like all these fears, right? Like even today, this has been a really big dream for me to start a video channel, but the fear of judgment has been like clouding over me for a while now. And so it was just like all these things, like even parts of my relationship. I have a beloved, his name is Cody. Some of you might know him, but so like our relationship had transitioned too, and I was in a place like, crap, like I feel like I should be a lot more grateful than I actually am. Like I have all of these blessings, all of these things a part of my life. I'm surrounded by blessings, but I wasn't feeling blessed. I wasn't really truly grateful for all of the things that I had. And so it was just like really interesting to notice how low energy I had, like my physical body and my physical health was really dropping out. I was having a lot of aches and pains and such. I was noticing my eating habits. I was emotionally eating a lot. And especially within 2020, like once the quarantine and COVID really kind of struck the earth, like a lot of the mental health, like mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health really plummeted for a lot of us. And so I was just noticing how so much that I wanted in my life seemed like such a far reach. And I couldn't really understand why. And so once I was like, you know what? I'm done with feeling like I'm going in circles around myself with all of these issues. And it wasn't until I recommitted myself into a coaching program, like a group coaching program. And me, myself, I always am in classes. I'm always learning. I always have a teacher of some kind. And I decided to go back into this program I tried last year. And it was actually so revealing to me of all of the fears and these like old habitual tendencies that I had and like old patterns. And I'm like, dude, this doesn't serve me, but what the heck? And so I realized like, all right, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna bring it back to myself and really focus on myself because all these like dreams require a lot of me and like my personal power. And so I dedicated this fall to be like, okay, I acknowledge these are issues that I have, and I am going to accept this new journey. And I'm willing to do what it takes. And I realized, through various conversations and like different things popping up around my life, that self-love was my target. That's where I needed to begin first. And so um, when I started to dive into my self-love and really looking at myself, like not just loving myself, but loving my body, loving my mind, loving all of the emotions that I'm holding, loving my spirituality. And so again, loving my whole self, and where I've come, where I am, and where I want to go, like just really loving all of these aspects of myself, really started to shift a lot. At first, it was subtle. And even though I was like, oh, I feel so much better, I started noticing more opportunities coming in. I started noticing crazy, trippy synchronicities. And not only that, like I was treating my body better. I was noticing when I would go to those eating habits, right? Like emotionally eating, I was able to pause because I was noticing like, whoa, like, wait a minute. I love myself so much more now that I can actually pause for a moment instead of getting caught up and reacting in those triggered states. And it's just really been such a beautiful experience. And so one thing I'm going to share with you, like I said, I always have a teacher, right? I always have a guide. And so one book that I'm going to recommend to you is by Kamal Ravikant, and it's Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And one thing I notice about like having books, having a teacher, a guide, a coach, whatever it is, going, surrounding yourself with things like this, it really helps me stay in the content and stay in the practice. And the more that I focus my attention on something, the more my brain starts to pick it up in my environment around me. And so this is why I highly recommend this book. Not only did this like help me do the like tangible practices of loving myself every single day, it also shares, the deeper stories, the experiences that this author had with this practice. And it was just so nice to like connect with someone through their own personal experience. And it just really helped me like see things in a different way, like notice things about myself that, like we all have blind spots, right? We all have blind spots. We all have things that we don't know about ourselves, right? Like there are things that we don't know that we don't know. Like, and it tends to be difficult to get our finger on it, right? To pinpoint it, because sometimes we're just doing our own thing, saying the old story, like, you know what I mean? And so when we have a guide, when we like listen to another person's story, it can help us like, oh, wait a minute, I see myself in them. oh crap, I didn't see this. I didn't notice that I was doing this. And so it really helps pinpoint um, those blind spots that we have to get us through those transformation, or like get us moving through those shifts and progress further along our transformation. So I highly recommend this book. In the description of the video, I put in a link to like an Amazon. You can, go to your local bookstore or whatever. I just highly recommend it because when I was reading this every single night, it really just, got me in that habitual pattern. And yeah, it's just really, really helpful. And so the practices that I'm going to share with you today, even though if you don't get this like today, or like, it might become a gift for you later, whatever it is, like I want to share with you there's 4 practices that come from this book that helped me tremendously. And so at least you can have these like in your back pocket and you can practice them now. But if you really want to immerse yourself and get really serious about your self-love journey, I highly recommend buying this book. Also, there's like audiobooks too. You can listen to it in your car. Like technology is amazing. Okay, so there are 4 practices to loving yourself that you can apply for yourself. And they're really simple, okay? And it's great. The simplicity is wonderful. And so from the book, the first practice it talks about is the mental loop. And in this mental loop, you're going to be saying to yourself, and not only if you are comfortable in a place where you're comfortable, you can say that out loud to yourself as well. And I think speaking out loud, like affirmations and prayers, intentions, just speaking is very, very powerful. And yeah, there's a lot of power behind our words. And so when we consciously and mindfully, intentionally use our words to help ourselves to direct various experiences of our lives, like beautiful things unfold. So the first practice is mental loop, saying, I love myself. I love myself. And so we can practice this right now, even if you are in a comfortable place, say it in your mind if that's better. You can take a deep breath in your heart and say, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Yeah. And that's basically it. That's the mental loop. Looping, repetition helps make grooves, as he explains in the books, makes grooves within our like neural pathways. And it continues. The more that you do it, the deeper the groove. And as you start getting used to saying, I love myself, the more that you start to feel your body soften, because sometimes, honestly, we may not even actually love ourselves, right? Like saying I love myself when I don't actually have that there already for myself can feel kind of awkward. It can feel like I'm faking it. It can feel like I'm almost lying to myself. It can be a really, tough one to realize, to acknowledge that love for yourself isn't there. And so it might take a few times, for this, like a few days for this to really settle in and for us to really like allow that statement and that love for ourselves to sink in. Because it really is a practice. And so as you start allowing the I love myself statements to sink in and you notice it starts to shift your body within you, you might soften. You might be able to breathe a little easier. There's various ways that you can experience this. But once you soften into loving yourself, the more that you start to then feel the love to grow and grow and grow, then that really can help start to really let it seep into the subconscious. So repeating, I love myself the moment that you wake up. If you're in a tough conversation, repeating, I love myself while you're in a tough conversation, or when you finish a tough conversation, when you're driving, when you're grocery shopping, like while you're getting ready. That's the one thing I love, getting ready and brushing my teeth, staring at my eyes in the mirror, which is another one I'll bring up in just a moment. So just keeping the mental loop of I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. The second lesson is meditation. So this is kind of more of a visual meditation, guided meditation. So when you have about 5 minutes at least to get in a comfortable position of stillness and silence. So whether that's sitting, whether it's laying down, get into a position where you're most comfortable, where you can close your eyes or at least leave them half open with the gaze slightly downward. And repeating, I love myself over and over with every inhale. And imagining within this 5-minute meditation, imagining light of your higher power, however you see the one who created you, to start to beam down. Yeah. Source, divine light beaming down and into the body, through the body, and expanding, especially within the heart. Yeah. And doing this 5-minute meditation, saying, I love myself, and allowing that divine source of unconditional love to beam and fill yourself. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. You can set a timer. You can have a little like track in the background, preferably instrumental if you feel like it. Like, make this something that you can truly enjoy. Yeah. Now, the third lesson is the mirror practice. This is another 5-minute practice where sometimes I don't have it with me, but I'll have a handheld mirror because sometimes I'm just like in bed when I want to do it. And so I'll have a handheld mirror and I am staring into my eye, one of my eyes, right? Staring into my eye, saying, I love myself. I love myself. You can do this in the bathroom, staring into the mirror. I love myself. I love myself. And just notice, pausing every now and then to truly just stare, eye gaze with yourself in this self-loving practice. It's so beautiful. And sometimes, like, you know, if this is something that you haven't done before, it might feel a little awkward. Not gonna lie, right? It might be a little weird. But you know what? Like, this is for you. This isn't for anybody else. So who cares? Okay. Who cares? This is for you, by you, true unconditional love, just as you are today, right now, being with yourself, loving yourself. Okay. And so just notice also, it's a great awareness practice to see like, oh, this is kind of weird. Why is it weird? Who says it's weird? And like, whatever, you know? Anyway, so that was the third lesson. The fourth lesson, final lesson, is holding a question for yourself. And this one I love. This one really, really helped me out, especially when I was like emotionally eating, right? The question of, if I truly loved myself, what would I do? So in the times when I wanted to grab those cookies, right? Eat a fat bowl of sugary cereal at like 9 p.m. I would say, hold up. If I truly love myself right now, what would I do? And it was very, very easy to be like, you know what? I can't do this anymore because I love and respect myself just that much more. And it really just like slowed me down. I got real with myself and it gave me the space to then make a better decision, right? Make a decision that's stemmed from loving myself truly and deeply. And so that's another thing. If you're having, you know, an argument, or like an argument's about to come up or something, you know, some kind of like sticky situation you might be finding yourself in, you can say in your mind, if I truly loved myself, what would I do? Would I still be there? Would I be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can talk about this when we're a lot more calm. You know, yeah, that was really, really helpful for me. And so there are also other questions in the book that were really great. Like, I think one was like, if I truly love, or one was like, is this coming from light or coming from dark? Now, the thing about that is, I don't want to say light is good, dark is bad. I don't hold that perspective. What I do want to say is this hurtful or is this helpful? Right? Because what could be hurtful, helpful to me could be the opposite for you. You know, who's to say what's right, wrong for every person? So that really helped me. If I truly loved myself, would I allow, like, is this, if I truly loved myself, would this be more hurtful or helpful to do? Right. So yeah, there's a lot more in the book, and some really great personal stories that really kind of anchor in these practices and these lessons. And so yeah. This has been a really big game changer for me, honestly. And it's helped me show up today, to be real. I actually have like this injury in my arm, my left arm. And yesterday it was pretty bad. I've been in a sling. Usually if I'm walking around, I put my arm in a sling, but since I'm stationary, I'm just letting it free flow a little bit. I need a little bit of movement. But yeah, it was just like, even though I'm having this like literal, like physical challenge right now, like if I truly loved myself, would I not show up in this way? Or would I? And boom, I got my answer. I was like, heck yeah, like let's do this. I've been dreaming about this. And so it's just really, really like, I'm just so grateful, honestly. And it's also led me to various experiences of like having really big healing experiences that I did not see coming towards the end of 2020 that happened. And it really is miraculous. And so anyway, what I encourage you to do is get this book, audio, physical, electronic, however you want to do it, and get yourself into a self-love practice. Because, hey, I mean, the worst that can happen is what? You love yourself a little more. You know what I mean? And yeah. So besides the book, if you'd like to keep following me, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a link in the description there. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram if you're not already doing that. And yeah, so really quickly to wrap up this video, it's a lot longer than I anticipated. All the excitement having me ramble, right? But just to summarize the 4 steps of practicing this self-love that is going to help you work with your whole self of body, mind, and spirit rather than against it, right? So the first practice is the mental loop of repeating, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Whether in your mind or whisper it or say out loud, however you want to do you. So first one is mental loop. The second one is meditation, where you get in a comfortable place, repeat, I love myself with every breath, and imagine this unconditional love coming from your higher source, and filling you, every bit and part of you, with self-love. And then the third is the mirror practice, having 5 minutes of staring into your eyes, saying, I love myself, and really celebrating yourself, being with yourself. And then the fourth practice is holding the question of, if I truly loved myself, what would I do? Yeah. Cool. So yeah, let me know if you get the book. Let me know how this experience is for you. And oh my gosh, Daniel, what's up, Mr. Woods? Yay. Such a blessing to feel your presence, brother. Cool. All right, y'all. Well then, I'm gonna get going. So exciting. And I'll see you next Tuesday. All right, loves. Take care. Oh, Gustavo, you're so welcome. You are so welcome. All right, y'all. Mwah, mwah, mwah.